They thought they were unearthing memories. Instead, they found something still alive. It started as a town project, something wholesome, nostalgic, and harmless. The people of Graybridge, Kansas, wanted to celebrate their centennial by opening the time capsule buried behind the old community hall in 1980. No one expected national headlines. No one expected evidence teams. And no one, least of all the local historian, expected the film inside to still be rolling. Graybridge had changed little in 43 years. One main street, two churches, a single radio station. The mayor, Ellen Hardy, planned the capsule opening as a bridge between generations. At 10 a.m. on a cloudless Saturday, volunteers gathered behind the town hall. The spot was marked by a rusted plaque that read, "To the future citizens of Graybridge, open in 2023. The capsule itself was a steel drum sealed with industrial welds. When the public works crew pried it open, a rush of stale air escaped, acrid, metallic, like burnt tape. Inside, yellowed newspapers, a rotary phone, a cassette player, a pair of sneakers, and a Super 8 film camera wrapped in plastic. Taped to it was a note, "Property of Graybridge High School Media Club. Do not erase." The crowd laughed. Someone joked that they should plug it in and see if any ghosts were still filming. Then the camera light blinked just once. At first, everyone thought it was residual charge. The device was battery-powered. No way it could still hold energy after 4 decades. But the tiny red indicator kept pulsing, slow, deliberate. Mayor Hardy called the local librarian, Tom Reynolds, who doubled as the town's unofficial archivist. He took the camera to the library basement, where he kept a collection of vintage AV gear. When he removed the film cartridge, he found something strange. It wasn't film at all. Inside was a miniature tape reel, not standard for 1980. It was labeled simply Project Echo. Tom threaded it through an old viewer, expecting static. Instead, he saw movement, a classroom, desks, a chalkboard dated October 17, 1980, students laughing, waving at the camera, perfectly ordinary, until one of them walked past the lens wearing a modern smartwatch. By nightfall, half the town had heard about the time traveler video. The mayor ordered the tape secured at City Hall. Tom made a copy for analysis at a local college lab. The next day, the footage changed. Frame by frame, Tom watched the classroom dissolve into static, then reform into a different room. Same layout, same chalkboard, but newer paint, newer desks, and on the wall, a poster that didn't exist in 1980, Graybridge High School, class of 2023. When Tom slowed the tape, he realized the perspective had shifted. It wasn't showing the past anymore. It was showing now. The county sheriff, Ralph Miller, was skeptical but obliged when Hardy requested official documentation. He brought in forensic technician Dana Lowe to test the materials. Lowe confirmed the steel drum dated to the late 1970s. The welds were original, the camera authentic, but the battery was not. It was a polymer lithium cell first manufactured in 2011. The discovery prompted the Kansas Bureau of Investigation to step in. They asked the town to halt public discussion. Rumor control was impossible. But the footage had already leaked. A 15-second clip showing the blinking camera light and a glimpse of modern graffiti on a chalkboard. Online forums lit up with theories: hoax, ARG, government test, quantum anomaly. Graybridge became famous overnight. During review of the recovered frames, analysts noticed a reflection in the classroom window. A young man standing outside in the hallway, face obscured by glare. Lowe enhanced the image. On his jacket were stitched letters. RT records showed that in October 1980, the media club president was Robert Tanner, senior, age 17, disappeared the night of the school's Halloween dance. Presumed runaway, never found. When his name resurfaced, locals grew uneasy. Tanner's disappearance had haunted Graybridge for decades. His mother still lived 2 streets from the old school. Sheriff Miller paid her a visit. Mrs. Tanner said she'd buried her son's yearbook photo with his father years ago. She couldn't bear to look at it anymore. But she showed the sheriff something she'd never told anyone, a letter her son had written 2 days before he vanished. "We're testing something new for the project. If it works, we'll be remembered." Tom Reynolds dug through the library archives and found a single reference in a 1979 school board newsletter. Media Club proposes experimental broadcast relay Project Echo, supervised by physics teacher Mr. K. Holbrook. Holbrook had retired in 1992 and now lived in an assisted care facility. When interviewed, he barely remembered the project until he heard Tanner's name. Then he went quiet. "It wasn't supposed to record time," he said. "It was supposed to map resonance, radio frequencies underground. But Tanner modified it, said he could keep the signal alive." Holbrook claimed Tanner had borrowed the school's only Super 8 camera and installed a loop circuit. The next week, both Tanner and the device vanished. "We assumed he ran off with it," Holbrook said. "Guess we were wrong." The old Graybridge High had been converted into storage for the county. Investigators obtained permission to inspect the basement where Project Echo was reportedly built. Behind a stack of obsolete desks, they found a sealed door, its handle fused with rust. When they forced it open, a low hum filled the air. Inside, a makeshift lab, oscilloscopes, coils of copper wire, a desk with a cassette recorder still plugged into a corroded outlet. On the wall, a chalk diagram of circles within circles labeled Phase 1, Phase 4. And in the center, an indentation in the concrete, exact diameter of the camera's base. The moment they entered, their handheld radios emitted faint static. A voice, barely audible, whispered through, "Still recording." Over the next week, state technicians examined the tape. The frames displayed a repeating timestamp, 10/17/1980, 12:15 p.m., but background details subtly evolved. Posters changed, sunlight shifted, new faces appeared. Every 24 hours, the footage seemed to update by a single frame. It was as if the recording were synchronized to real time, still transmitting across 4 decades of blank film. Physicists from Wichita State proposed an explanation: a self-contained electromagnetic loop preserving visual data through resonant imprinting. Others called it impossible, but the data transfer from the camera to their modern monitor was measurable. And once the file was copied to a laptop, the playback continued, adding frames no one had uploaded. Frame 12,311 showed the empty classroom. Frame 12,312 showed the same room, but a man now sat in one of the desks. He was older, mid-50s, and wearing the same jacket with RT stitched on it. His expression neutral. On the chalkboard behind him were 2 words scrawled in uneven handwriting: "It worked." The forensic team froze the frame. The next second of tape degraded into total blackness, but the camera's light began blinking again, 3 times, then stopped. Once leaked, the Tanner frame became viral. TV crews surrounded Graybridge. Skeptics called it deepfake marketing. But analysis by multiple labs confirmed the tape stock's age and lack of digital artifacts. Mrs. Tanner refused interviews, but neighbors said she'd begun leaving her porch light on every night so he can find his way back. Mayor Hardy requested federal involvement after several town employees reported electrical interference near the burial site. Geophysicists recorded low-frequency pulses underground, consistent with a power source still active below 5 feet of soil. They reopened the dig. 2 feet below the original cavity, crews discovered a secondary chamber, metal walls fused to rock. Inside, 8 CRT monitors arranged in a ring, all dark except one. That screen showed the excavation team from above, as if viewed by a drone, except there was no drone. When the foreman reached toward the monitor, his hand appeared on the screen, seconds before he moved. Everyone backed away. The monitor flickered, displaying a still image. The classroom again, empty. Then the words appeared, pixelated but legible: "Do not dig further." Power readings spiked. The chamber lights failed. When electricity was restored, the monitor was blank, and the camera from the capsule was gone. Authorities sealed the site, citing structural instability. Privately, KBI agents admitted they had no mechanism explaining the phenomena. The official report labeled it anomalous recording persistence. Within months, Graybridge returned to uneasy quiet. Tom Reynolds closed the library. He'd started forgetting things: dates, faces, conversations. He said sometimes when he rewound the footage, frames would appear of places he hadn't filmed yet, like his own living room. Sheriff Miller retired early, citing health issues. His last note in the case file read, "Signal still audible on Channel 9, 12:50 p.m. daily, same frequency." In 2024, an amateur radio enthusiast in Nebraska picked up intermittent bursts on a dead channel. When converted to image data, they produced fragmented video, frames of a classroom labeled Graybridge High. The timestamp read 10/17/2024, 12:05 p.m. In the center desk sat an elderly man facing the lens. His lips moved, but no sound transmitted. Spectrogram analysis of the static revealed 3 words embedded in waveform. "Keep recording, Robert. The recovered media remains in federal custody." The original burial site was paved over into a memorial plaza. Visitors often note that their phones lose signal precisely at 12:15 p.m. Mayor Hardy relocated soon after. In a final interview, she said quietly, "We wanted to remember who we were. Maybe we built something that remembers us too well." This was the story of Project Echo, the time capsule that refused to stop recording. If stories like this make you question what the past leaves behind, subscribe to Hard Tells, where evidence blurs with the impossible, and sometimes the record doesn't end, it just keeps playing.